Can we have the roll call?
Archana Alia.
Here.
Lisa Ramon.
Here.
Don Maskin.
Here.
Kyle Lieberman.
Here.
Eric Horan.
Here. Let's have a moment of silent prayer or private reflection. Will everyone join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any need for an executive session? Okay, so we will move on to 2, call to the public. Is there any calls to the public tonight? Okay. Well, then we get to the fun stuff. 3.1, recognition of LHUSD number 1 support staff of the year, rookie of the year, site teachers of the year, and the LHUSD teacher of the year. Dr. Stone.
Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight we are thrilled to present our 5th annual LHUSD staff celebration. At LHUSD, we recognize the extraordinary contributions made by teachers and staff every day to improve the lives of students in Lake Havasu City. To honor their work, we invited community members, parents, colleagues, and students to nominate a teacher or staff member who they feel deserves this special recognition. We do want to thank our many community sponsors or partners for their generous donations in making this special event a reality. The awards for each recipient were donated by the K-12 Foundation, and Ms. Monica Hall is here this evening to help us present to our teachers. So if you will come on up. We are going to begin tonight with our Rookie of the Year, who is Mr. Gino Enzalaco. So Mr. Enzalaco's commitment to Oro Grande Classical Academy's students, his school, and district is present in all he does. Mr. Enzalaco's lessons are engaging and productive. He incorporates his love for fitness and activity into his daily activities. He understands the importance of balancing health and fitness while making physical education not only a fun class to attend, but also a class where they learn the importance of teamwork and sportsmanship, all while integrating the virtues of the Oro Grande Classical Academy: justice, temperance, prudence, and fortitude, to name a few. One of the most important qualities that Mr. Enzalaco exhibits is building relationships with all students at Oro Grande. He takes time to listen to his students and know them on a personal level so he can engage and motivate them in the learning process. In his 3 years with LHUSD, Mr. Enzalaco has taken on a variety of leadership roles, including committee member of the Positive Behavior and Intervention and Supports team, as well as coaching Thunderbolt football and Thunderbolt baseball. Wherever he leads, he strives to develop positive communication, a strong work ethic, and integrity. Mr. Enzalaco's contributions to Oro Grande and our district have helped build a rich culture where students thrive. Congratulations on such a significant accomplishment. And our next honoree is our Support Staff Member of the Year, and that is Mrs. Veronica Garcia. So Mrs. Veronica Garcia is a dedicated paraprofessional whose passion for student learning is evident in all of her actions at Smoke Tree Elementary. She has worked for LHUSD for 11 years, and throughout these years, she has built lasting relationships with many students and their families. If you come to Smoke Tree, you will recognize her as the welcoming face in the parking lot crosswalk, a duty she thoroughly enjoys because of the connection she builds with students. Mrs. Garcia always has a smile on her face and is always willing to help when needed. She embraces new tasks with excitement and enthusiasm when she sees the value it can add to her students' lives. This year, Mrs. Garcia started an after-school English learning club to help students who were just learning the language. She then collaborated with the Student Achievement Team to help revise our after-school English learner tutoring program across the district. Mrs. Garcia goes above and beyond to provide assistance to our Spanish-speaking families. Her approachable nature and genuine kindness makes her a valuable part of the educational team. We are honored to work with such an exceptional paraprofessional who strives to go above and beyond for all students. Congratulations. So we're moving on to our Site Teachers of the Year, and at Lake Havasu High School, that would be Nicole Gray. LHHS is proud to announce Nicole Gray as their Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Gray has been with the district since 2015, where she has served as a math teacher for Thunderbolt Middle School and now Lake Havasu High School. Mrs. Gray is a leader in the LHHS math department, where she is a resource and collaborative partner for all. Mrs. Gray has become an expert on the new assessment tool, Illuminate DNA, and the incoming math curriculum. Not only do her coworkers benefit from her leadership and expertise, her students certainly do as well. It is not uncommon to hear parents exclaim that they are happy their student is back to learn with Mrs. Gray after having her at Thunderbolt. This is a result of Mrs. Gray's positive relationships where all students feel cared for and appreciated and are empowered to achieve success. On the day Mrs. Gray was announced as the Teacher of the Year in front of her students, you could see each kid's happiness for her. One student remarked, "You deserve that award, Mrs. Gray." And we could not agree more. Congratulations. From Starline, we have Mrs. Teresa Nigg. Mrs. Nigg has been teaching for LHUSD for 10 years. During that time, she has been the advisor for the National Elementary Honor Society and the Yearbook Club. She has also facilitated math professional development sessions for educators. Somehow, in the midst of all of that, she found time to earn her national board certification as well. Mrs. Nigg currently teaches 3rd grade at Starline Elementary School. She embraces her students and goes above and beyond to help them be successful, both academically and socially, being there to guide them with kindness and patience. Mrs. Nigg truly loves each student and builds strong relationships which help to support them in their learning. When you encounter Mrs. Nigg, she always has a smile on her face and is ready to provide whatever support is needed for the student or school. Next year, we are excited to have Mrs. Nigg taking over Starline's 4th grade gifted classroom, where she will continue to challenge students to meet their fullest potential. Mrs. Nigg is well deserving of the honor of being the recipient of Starline's Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. At Smoke Tree Elementary, we have Miss Athena Coda. Mrs. Coda is an amazing kindergarten teacher who works with some of Smoke Tree's youngest children and their families to ensure they have a fantastic first year of school experience. Mrs. Coda continually communicates with parents throughout the year so they can support their child's learning and development both in and out of the classroom. Mrs. Coda is routinely recognized by parents for the difference she makes in their children's lives. In addition to her time with Smoke Tree's kindergartners, Mrs. Coda tutors students of all ages, including middle school and high school. She has a strong math mind and a passion for student learning that she uses to help students build math confidence and better understand mathematical concepts. Outside of the classroom, Mrs. Coda serves as a mentor to new teachers, the kindergarten team lead, site council member, PTSO member, and is Smoke Tree's communication liaison. Mrs. Coda gracefully and skillfully lends her talents to Smoke Tree on a daily basis. We are fortunate to have her service and leadership in Cougar Country. Congratulations. Next, from Oro Grande Classical Academy, we have Miss Rebecca Ringel. As a first grade teacher at Oro Grande Classical Academy, Mrs. Rangel is an incredible model of professionalism and our academy virtues, as well as being a champion for students. We are proud to have witnessed Mrs. Rangel develop her excellence by being the Rookie Teacher of the Year, Golden Apple Teacher of the Year, and now Oro Grande's Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Rangel is an impact teacher. Students are treated as individuals, and Mrs. Rangel differentiates her instruction to match her learners' needs. Mrs. Rangel welcomes difficult and challenging questions and does so with the best interest of students in mind. She continually strives to model quality teaching and meaningful learning. Mrs. Rangel understands student learning is not isolated in data, but rather by students' problem-solving skills and building confidence as an individual, as well as supporting and encouraging others. Mrs. Rangel is the lead advisor for our Kindness Club, where she brings Oro Grande's mission to train the mind and improve the hearts of students to life. Mrs. Rangel is an excellent example of our mission in all she does, in and out of the classroom. Congratulations. And at Havasu Elementary, we have Miss Devin Mann. Miss Mann has a passion for helping her students grow. It is not uncommon to see her working with small groups and individuals to provide modified lessons when needed. Miss Mann has worked with many students with special needs, providing both emotional and academic support. She fosters a community where all are valued and appreciated for being exactly who they are. Miss Mann has a strong rapport with her students' parents. She uses multiple venues to communicate school information as well as daily updates. She supports parents by providing reteach and enrichment activities they can use at home with their student. Outside of the classroom, Ms. Mann also supports Havasupai staff with whatever they need, from technology to curriculum to behavior supports. Ms. Mann is the chairperson for the student intervention team, super user for the assessment platform, and Google Classroom and Class Dojo expert. She consistently volunteers to support her colleagues and moves Havasupai forward. In short, Devin Mann is one of those teachers her students and colleagues will remember for her positive impact on their lives. Please help us congratulate Mrs. Mann. At Nautilus Elementary, we have Miss Kelsey Gibbs. It is with great pleasure that Nautilus Elementary School recognizes LHHS alumni Miss Kelsey Gibbs as our 21-22 Teacher of the Year. Mrs. Gibbs is a dedicated educator that serves our district as a kindergarten teacher, articulation lead, mentor teacher, and member of multiple school and district committees. Ms. Gibbs is a national board certified teacher and a 10-year veteran of our district. Ms. Gibbs intentionally builds a learning environment that is safe, welcoming, and meaningful. She takes great pride in setting the foundational experience of our students and assuring families that their child will be successful. She works closely with our school leadership, counselors, psychologists, and teachers to support the success of the whole child. Students in Ms. Gibbs' class develop a love of learning because they feel safe, cared for, and respected in her care. Ms. Gibbs is credited with helping staff work through some powerful behaviors, always smiling and being a great teammate. Ms. Gibbs is a strong leader and member of our learning community. She embodies our core values and elevates the way we serve students. We are honored to have Ms. Gibbs as our Nautilus Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. At Jamaica Elementary, we have Mr. Andrew Branchek. Jamaica Elementary proudly recognizes Mr. Branchek as their 21-22 Teacher of the Year. Mr. Branchek is a true team player and shows an amazing example of what it looks like to carry the banner for our school by putting students first. Mr. Branchek is known for thinking on his feet and being solution-oriented, not just for his classes, but for all of Jamaica. He adjusts and strategizes when needed to ensure students can attend their specials, even if this creates double the work for himself. He steps in daily with any duty needed, no questions asked. When he is not taking care of our students and being dad to his 2 children, he is spoiling the staff. Mr. Branchek is lovingly referred to as the potato peddler, as he routinely treats staff to his famous potato buffet to boost spirits and support wellness on Jamaica's campus. Mr. Branchek is a servant leader and quietly leaves his positive mark on all he does. We are grateful for all he does at Jamaica Elementary. Congratulations. And our final site teacher of the year is Thunderbolt Middle School, Miss Nisa Harris. Thunderbolt is proud to recognize Mrs. Nisa Harris as their site teacher of the year. Mrs. Harris has served LHUSD for 27 years, where she began her career as a kindergarten teacher and is now a computer science teacher. In her time at Thunderbolt, Mrs. Harris has been the National Junior Honor Society Advisor, Student Council Advisor, Mentor Teacher, and Department Chair. Although she may teach the fundamentals of coding in her curriculum, she has been known to challenge students to strive to be better than they thought they could be. The interpersonal skills her students learn in the midst of all the other skills she is teaching is remarkable. Mrs. Harris has put her heart and soul into education, not only for her students, but also for her entire school and district. She has served on the District Budget Committee, Lake Havasu Employee Benefit Trust Committee, and Lake Havasu Education Association. Over the course of her career, she has devoted countless hours to mentoring staff to prepare the next generation of teacher leaders. It is rare to find her in her classroom during her planning period, as she's always answering the call for tech assistance or peer consultation. She is truly the backbone of Thunderbolt's exploratory team and Thunderbolt as a whole. She brings unity and stability at a time of uncertainty. Mrs. Harris's dedication to the profession and her students is commendable. She is the deserving recipient of Thunderbolt's Teacher of the Year. And we are also delighted to announce that she is the LHUSD District Teacher of the Year. After all the congratulations, Mrs. Harris is being presented with the ultimate staycation package filled with gifts from our generous sponsors listed here on the screen. She will also have a menu item named after her, as is custom at Mud Sharks for the upcoming year. So at this time, if you would please welcome our Mayor, Kyle Sheehy, for a special announcement.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me, and congratulations to all the amazing educators and support staff at Lake Havasu Unified School District. Our community is only as special and as strong as it is because of the work that all of you do every day to educate our youngest residents that are going to once be the leaders of our community. Some of you that have graduated, like myself, from the system that are giving back now. It's my honor, though, to offer a proclamation to you, Ms. Harris, naming today Lake Havasu Unified School District Teacher of the Year Day, April 19th, 2022. Whereas today we recognize and celebrate Nisa Harris as Lake Havasu Unified School District's 2022 Teacher of the Year. As a kindergarten teacher and now a middle school computer science teacher, she has worked in the district for the past 27 years, and in that time she has impacted thousands of student lives. And whereas Nisa is a mentor, department chair, and National Junior Honor Society advisor, colleagues and administrators who have worked closely with Nisa will tell you she has a deep and abiding commitment to serving middle schoolers and elevating the profession. And whereas Nisa is a teacher leader who has passionately mentored and developed other teacher leaders, she has served as a budget committee member, Lake Havasu City Education Association vice president, and employee benefit trust representative. And whereas Nisa lives out the ideals of what it means to be a dedicated educator and goes above and beyond in her role in the district and in Lake Havasu City, she is an advocate for education in and out of the classroom and is often found volunteering her time for Relay for Life events, You Matter suicide prevention walks, and at after-school extracurricular activities. And whereas Nisa makes her school and district a better place for educators and, most importantly, for all students. Nisa's experience, commitment, and dedication have empowered other educators and have served not only her students, but students beyond her own classroom. I want to express my sincere appreciation to Ms. Harris for her unwavering dedication and service to the profession of teaching and to the children of Lake Havasu City. Now, therefore, I, Cal Sheehy, the mayor of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, do hereby proclaim April 19th, 2022 as Lake Havasu Unified School District Teacher of the Year Day in this community in honor of Nisa Harris and her outstanding achievements as an educator within the Lake Havasu Unified School District. Congratulations. Tristan, could you do one for me? Sorry. I didn't bring my own photographer this time, but yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
So we also have Mrs. Docking here from Munchurk, who would
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us be a part of this every year. I'd like to honor you with this certificate to have your own special spot on our menu, Teacher of the Year's choice. So we'll be in touch. You could decide what you'd like to have. Therefore, my team and our patrons and everyone could honor all that you do for our community, our children, and our schools all year long. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So this is the moment we're going to take some group photos because I'm sure everybody would like some of their Teacher of the Year. So we're going to have this group move forward a little bit. If principals would like to come be with their Teacher of the Year, that would be great. And then we will ask our board to come in a minute.
Once again, thanks to all the folks, especially the sponsors. That was a great food spread. I don't know if you guys took part of that. I know it was good because once this was over, everybody was going over there and taking some to take it home, right? So that's good. All right. So let's get back to business. And Carol Nowakowski, you have the unfortunate position of following all that. So we'll leave the floor to you.
Well, honestly, I don't have a whole lot to say, but I am overwhelmingly excited for Nisa as our vice president. Thank you for honoring her. She is well deserving. As far as the only thing I wanted to share with you is, as you know, this is testing month for all of us. And today I gave a math test. If you got math problems, I'll solve it. But I couldn't today. They were on their own. It is stressful. We know that this one counts. So I'm asking the board to acknowledge that and that your staff is working really hard. We know letters will come out in October. And we're working really hard to get our 95%. So just keep that in mind as we move forward through this month. And we'll have lots to celebrate in May. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Moving forward, we have our consent agenda. Is there a motion for it?
I so move that we pass it unanimously.
I second.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maskin,
Yes.
Al Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Alio,
Yes.
Eric Curran,
Yes. There are no discussion items, so we will move to action items. Action item 6.1, Superintendent Recommendation for the Director of Student Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. President, members of the board. As we
Microphone.
all know,
Mrs. Walter is moving on to retirement land, which she is well deserving of, and we will hear some stories that I heard from others in the group tonight about how great retirement is, and they're excited about what they're doing, and we know Aggie will do exactly the same. While we will miss her, and she has really big shoes to fill, we did go through the process of interviewing candidates. We had a committee of community members, parents, board member, and some staff. And this evening, it is my pleasure to recommend Mr. Jonathan Moss as the new Director of Student Services. Mr. Moss brings a well-rounded background and exceptional educational history to this position. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and master's degree in mathematics education. He is currently finishing his EDS doctorate in educational leadership. Mr. Moss has held several unique positions in his career. He has served as a math instructor and interventionist for grades K through 12, a co-teacher for inclusion math, an athletic coach, an athletic director, and now principal of Nautilus Elementary. Mr. Moss was also the director of the Boys and Girls Club of Bullhead City and is currently the chairperson for the WAVE JTED board. Prior to leading at Nautilus, Mr. Moss served in several important leadership roles to support the development of the youth in his hometown of Bullhead City. Some of those committees include Bond Override Steering Committee and the Grants Leadership Committee. Mr. Moss has been awarded grants based on his grant writing ability and ability to successfully monitor and maintain the grants by continuously tracking data to ensure compliance measures were met. His time working with the Boys and Girls Club gave him a heart for working with diverse students and finding unique ways to meet all children's needs. During his time serving as principal of Nautilus, Mr. Moss has increased parent and community engagement and reimagined what PBIS can look like in rural schools. He has built meaningful relationships with students by focusing on restorative justice and developing proactive routines and procedures where students thrive. Mr. Moss has supported relationships beyond the walls of the school by partnering with several community stakeholders. Some of those groups include Star Cinemas, Rotary, Kiwanis, City Council, and most recently the Arizona Cardinals. Parent engagement has also increased, with the PTSO doubling its membership. While his ability to innovate ways to engage with stakeholders is impressive, his instructional leadership is second to none. Mr. Moss differentiates professional development to support all members of the staff. He has a passion for serving students with diverse needs and has been on the forefront of re-examining how the student intervention team identifies appropriate supports for students tailored to their unique needs. Drawing on his own experience as a co-teacher, Mr. Moss has partnered with his special education staff and student achievement coaches to provide professional development and best practices in co-teaching to support students' learning in the least restrictive environment. Mr. Moss has demonstrated a deep knowledge base of supporting special education students in the IEP eligibility determination process, progress monitoring through effective data analysis, and scaffolding supports to ensure growth. Mr. Moss has a passion for developing systems to support staff in reaching all students. This passion extends far beyond his professional life. He and his wife are dedicated foster parents and have a heart for welcoming children of all ages and abilities into their home. They are the proud parents of a beautiful 4-year-old daughter, Layla, whom they were able to adopt after fostering. Mr. Moss lives out his professional ideas in his personal life on a daily basis and is an advocate for exceptional children. His dedication to serving children of all backgrounds, commitment to innovation, and ability to think strategically make him a great fit for the Director of Student Services.
Any discussions or motions?
I move that we pass 6.1 as presented.
Go ahead.
I was the or the board member that was on the interview panel for that, and I just want to say how proud I am that both of the internal candidates were just so far head and shoulders above both of the external candidates that actually applied for the position. I don't think we could have chosen a better person for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing John grow into the position.
And I will just add, I'm very happy for the director's department, but I'm a little bit sad for Nautilus because I know this has been an amazing. I keep seeing posts on Facebook about all the amazing things that you've been able to bring to that school just in the 1 year that you've been there. So thank you for making such an impact. And I kind of giving it away, but I'm going to be a yes vote, and I'm really excited for you to join the directorship team.
So I think we still need a second, even though.
We do. I'll second the motion.
John Maston,
Yes.
Cal Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Alliar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
Eric Curran.
Yes. Item 6.2, student achievement, long reads, novels for Lake Havasu High School.
Okay, I apologize. Watching the Nautilus teachers really did make me emotional. Miss Walter just asked me, "Are you okay?" And I realized I was crying. So I'm with you, Nautilus teachers. It says a lot. Yes. It says a lot. Mr. President and Governing Board, the LHUSD Governing Board previously approved HMH into literature as the English curriculum for grades 9 through 12 beginning next year. An essential component of any English curriculum is the study of many different types of literature. The LHHS English curriculum will offer a variety of texts in order to anchor student work. One area of focus is providing longer reads, including novels. All of the novels suggested for approval are recommended in the HMH into literature textbook and align to the units of instruction therein. A committee was identified and selected the following novels, long reads for use. 9th grade, Night by Elie Wiesel and The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimmeline. 9th grade honors To Kill a Mockingbird, Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimmeline. 10th grade, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, and Into the Wild by John Krakauer. 10th grade honors, Lord of the Flies, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, Macbeth by William Shakespeare, and Into the Wild. 11th grade, Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and The Crucible by Arthur Miller. 11th grade honors, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, The Great Gatsby, and The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. 12th grade, Beowulf, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe by Douglas Adams, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, 1984 by George Orwell. 12th grade, dual enrollment, Beowulf, Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt, Frankenstein, and 1984 by George Orwell. The following long reads have been previously approved by the board: Night, To Kill a Mockingbird, Lord of the Flies, Into the Wild, Macbeth, The Great Gatsby, The Crucible, Beowulf, Frankenstein, 1984. The following long reads are included in the textbook: Macbeth, The Crucible, and Beowulf. There is a presentation to follow. And suspense. Lots. Okay. So as a reminder, the reason for English Language Arts is to focus on real-world awareness and civic action. By including various texts representing diverse cultures and viewpoints, English teachers build on community and responsibility by helping students learn and take action. English teachers realize the act of reading is no longer limited to deciphering and interpreting words on the printed and digital page. It's for students to become critical readers in many different situations. Today's readers are tomorrow's leaders. We've spent a lot of time really talking about the importance of core knowledge and building that schema for students, them taking that base knowledge, K-8, and then really thinking about how do they step into the world with different perspectives and understanding different people's lived experiences. So our curriculum was adopted on February 15th. The English department selected units of study from the textbook to ensure that LHHS is offering a guaranteed and viable curriculum that covers multiple genres of writing from numerous perspectives. Some units of study have a long read, while some units of study focused on short reads and writing. So really thinking about pacing this out, that students are both exposed to reading long pieces of literature and then using what they're reading and translating that into the written word. All novels are recommended in the textbook, and all novels have supporting lessons, instructional materials, and ancillaries. And so our committee was made up of 4 parents, 2 students, 5 teachers, 2 site administrators, a district administrator, and the superintendent. The task was to select novels for board approval. We considered 25 novels, and the committee met twice to discuss and make revisions. When we looked at what the novels, the supports that the textbook offered, for each of the novels that were selected, they offered teachers the ability to plan, teach, and extend with the long text, and I apologize, they're not all necessarily novels, but with the extended read. And so they support, this is about the things they carried, which is a collection of short stories about the Vietnam War. And so they support the teacher with background information that you would bring to the students before going into that long read. So identifying what the themes are, identifying what things students need to think about that longer piece of literature. They then have the teach. So when you're teaching from, and this is a chapter, from that, what are the questions that you might ask? What is the discussion? Looking at things within English language arts, what are you looking at when you're looking at an unreliable narrator? And then some of the projects that might go along with it. And then they can extend if your students are still looking to do something more. Again, with the things they carried, it's attached to the Vietnam War. So what are the next steps you could take? So for each of the long reads, those supports are provided. So when we chose the units, we chose them very specifically. Each of the grades have 4 units, 2 each semester. And then some of them have long reads, and then some of them don't, and that's because there's a writing, an extended piece of writing. And then this is shared also for you in the board materials. It has the Common Sense Media intended age, and so we made sure that everything was age appropriate. And then we looked at things that were previously approved and that we potentially had copies of. And so not everything that we are looking to go forward is new to us. Some of the things we have on hand, but everything fits really nicely within the unit. And so thinking about literature that is appealing to all of our students, that is preparing students for straight to career, college prep, high interest, and then again, thinking about people's lived perspective. So just looking at this 9th grade, we have breaking through barriers, and that's really exposing them to English, that regular 9th grade. We're really focused on grammar and writing. Against all odds, we're looking at survival. And so at the regular level, we're reading Night, which is it's pretty easily accessible, looking at the Holocaust. And then at the honors level, we're looking at Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which is a graphic novel, which again, thinking, it's just a graphic novel, but really understanding that deep text in a different way, Freedom at All Cost, and then Epic Journey, looking at the hero's quest in a different way. So we made sure that we were getting to all genres and then supporting students with all types of writing in both the reading and the writing as we moved forward through each of the grades. So that way they were prepared for assessments. And then thinking about, so here's 10th grade, we have Into the Wild, which is really something that is written from a male perspective, looking at Christopher Chandless and his adventures and his when he left society and went to Alaska. And so just thinking about these different ways of looking at literature. So our next steps, we also took a look at the summer reading. Honors summer reading has long been a topic of conversation. What we had decided to do is we're putting out suggested reading that parents can choose for their students to participate in or not. It's nothing that students will be tested on. It's nothing that there's an assignment attached to, but really thinking about for students who are going into the honor sequence and potentially are looking at college prep, those students, those parents, if they choose, it will be aligned to each of the units that are in the honor sequence. So that's a choice, and we are just sharing that with parents. There's nothing that they have to do with it. We will develop the scopes and sequences. So again, here's the rough outline. We know that these are what we're doing each quarter. now turning this into pacing guides and lessons. So we know that here's where teachers should be, and here's how we'll be teaching them. And then creating family communication letters for each unit and novel. And so talking about, well, why did we pick what we picked, and what's the type of literature that families can expect their students to encounter, and even thinking about what's the type of writing. And so I know that Mrs. Gray just sent out all of her parents an email about what they're reading and writing with 1984, and even those of us with students that are 18, it's a nice reminder of, yes, my child's still learning things in school, and I can talk to that child about it. So thinking about that communication with students, and then we would purchase our needed novels. And that's it.
Discussion.
Most of this was available when I was in high school in the 80s. I graduated in 84. And so all of the stuff I saw up on the list was available actually when I was in school, so there's nothing objectionable in any of this. I would move that we adopt 6.2 as presented.
I'll second.
And-
I did have a little bit.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I see that there's also a quantity to order next to some of the books. So we're not leaving this up to students to independently purchase them. We're going to have classroom sets available.
Correct.
Any feedback from you that you might have heard from teachers about transitioning the honors program from suggested summer reading or from required summer reading to suggestions only?
Sure. Honors summer reading. So, and principal. So we, Tanya, Scott, and Jenny, you can tell me if I'm speaking over you. So the honors reading program has been in existence for the past 10, 15 years. And there has been positives with it, and there have been negatives. I had a different perspective as a high school teacher, to be honest with you. For me, I always thought it's just what your kid does. I happened to be talking to a teacher who was the honors teacher in 8th grade, and I really never thought that as those students get those letters about moving into honors as freshmen, it's kind of met with this sense of dread of, oh, you get this book that you have to read. I know there's an expectation for honors student. I know as a former AP teacher, there was honors work. But I don't know that it necessarily prepares students for what's coming next. There's not a must assignment that if students don't do this, it's missing out. It's more of a, well, we feel that honors students should be reading over the summer. So I think for some advanced placement classes, there's a need because you can't fit the content into the course. If it is a way to keep students out because maybe they don't do summer work, then I think we need to question what's our real reason for wanting summer reading. If it really is because I feel that my students college bound and I want to prepare them with reading, then I have every reason as a parent that I can provide it. But I feel that we have the time within the course to teach what we're going to teach. In terms of this is the disposition we want in students, I don't know that that is a recommendation of who gets into honors and who doesn't get into honors in this time. And I don't know if anybody has anything to clarify what I have to say, if that's okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had lots of conversations and varying opinions about it, but we've run into several problems when we're not actively teaching the novel and we're just expecting students to come in and perform a task after having read it on their own. The ideal would be that our students are leisurely reading and talking with their parents and having these great summers of exploration. But what we found is that a lot of students were reading it the day before school or week before school, and maybe working together to not read it, I don't know. And so it wasn't really meeting that ideal that, that we were anticipating. It became more of a burden, I think, and so we just kind of talked through what's worth it. We want students to have access to the novels, and I mean, we know there are parents that are going to insist and encourage their children to read, and so we're still providing them that resource, but without the spanking at the end if they don't do it, I guess. So that was our thoughts mainly.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Gray hit on something really important. There's no other assignment that we have at this point that here's this assignment, and there's no guidance from a teacher. So that really has been the transition.
I guess my only ask would be then, to maybe revisit the topic in a couple of years and just get a sense of, wow, back when we had the required summer reading, it made a big difference. If that's the case, maybe take another look at it.
I'd also like to recognize anybody who's here who was a part of the process. If you would stand. And the reason why I wanted to do this is just to kind of emphasize, the collaborative nature of this community, the transparency that we try to strive for in doing these types of processes. I can give you a personal story as a board member. As last year there was a parent who was upset with the materials. So what do we do as a district here? We invite them to be a part of the process. That's what we do. That's what we should be doing here as a district, and they were a part of this process. And I think this is a wonderful list of books. I do also know that for our community, if there's folks who have objections to their books, they have ways to opt out. So that needs to be said too. That communication between the teacher and the parent is very important, and it's still in this process as well. I think we're ready.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Jana Alyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Madden,
Yes.
Eric Horan,
Yes. So we are moving now to, let's see, where are we? Only 6.3. Sole source procurement student achievement.
Mr. President and Governing Board, ARS 15721 and 15722 required the district to adopt textbooks for use by our students. This type of procurement is exempt from the school district procurement rules under R721002C7, which states the rule do not apply to expenditures for governing board adopted textbooks as defined by ARS 15721 and 15722 if purchased from the publisher. When using federal funds, districts must follow the Code of Federal Regulation, specifically 2 CFR Part 200, Subpart D 200.317, 200.327. The CFR does not allow for textbook adoptions. However, the CFR does allow for non-competitive procurement when the item is available from a single source. Since the school district is allowed by statute to purchase these textbooks from the publisher, the purchase of the textbooks would meet the criteria for non-competitive procurement. The textbooks may be purchased under sole source procurement rules. School District Procurement Rule R721053, paragraph A states a contract may be awarded for a material, service, or construction item without competition if the governing board determines in writing there is only one source for the required material, service, or construction item. A school district may require the submission of cost or pricing data in connection with the award under this section. Sole source procurement shall be avoided except when no reasonable alternative source exists. LHUSD has utilized federal funds to procure a variety of textbooks and materials over the past 2 years to ensure all students are provided with a guaranteed and viable curriculum and high-quality resources. Core Knowledge Language Arts, and Amplify Science were originally adopted by Oro Grande Classical Academy on 12/18/2018. These textbook materials were expanded to all PK-8 schools within the district on 12/18/2020 and the middle school on 3/9/2021. Singapore Math Dimensions was adopted for all PK-6 schools on 7/8/2019. During the 21-22 school year, the district worked to adopt English and math textbooks for all students in grades 9-12. The adoption was approved on 2/5/22. The district utilized the process outlined in Arizona Revised Statutes 15-271 and the District Policies and Regulations IGD and IJJR to determine what textbooks materials would best support student achievement and teacher needs. Two committees of stakeholders met multiple times to hear presentations from a variety of textbook companies, one committee for math and one committee for English. The choices were narrowed down to 3, and the textbook materials from all 3 companies were available to the public for 60 days. The committee met for a final presentation, and one choice was selected based on the committee feedback and a scoring rubric. In addition, the textbooks Read 180 and Read Math 180 programs were also selected to ensure struggling students have access to effective intervention. Therefore, there is only one source for these purchases and no reasonable alternatives exist. The recommendation is in compliance with state statute, the school district procurement rules, and Code of Federal Regulations. It is in the district's best interest to approve the recommended sole source procurement, which meets the criteria for a single source in accordance with the Code of Federal Regulations.
I move that we pass 6-3 as presented.
I second.
Any discussion?
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Masden,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. Next up, 6.4, Law and Public Safety Extended Reading.
Mr. President and Governing Board, Lake Havasu High School offers crime scene management as part of its Law and Public Safety course sequence. Students will read a complete crime novel in order to complete their final exam. Each student will receive a crime novel and use the text to describe criminal justice vocabulary and context, analyze the text as it relates to criminal justice, and break down the elements of a fictionalized crime story to examine what elements are based on fact and what elements are fictionalized. Texts chosen are written at a range of lexile levels and can be used with struggling to advanced readers. Families will be notified that students are reading a text that may deal with the sensitive nature of crime scenes, and an alternative project will be available. The following texts may be used in class: The Abduction by Theodore Boone, Predator, Patricia Cornwell, G is for Gumshoe, Sue Grafton, M is for Malice, Sue Grafton, O is for Outlaw, Sue Grafton, T is for Trespass, Sue Grafton, The Broker, John Grisham, The Client, John Grisham, The King of Torts, John Grisham, The Partner, John Grisham, The Racketeer, John Grisham, The Testament, John Grisham, Double Homicide, Jonathan and Faye Calamern.
I move we accept 6-4 as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Masden,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. Next up, Student Services ProCare Therapy Contract for Speech Services.
Mr. President, members of the board, LHUSD is obligated to ensure the provision of related services for eligible students to receive a free appropriate public education as required under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. LHUSD has been unsuccessful to date at recruiting a full-time speech-language pathologist to fill a critical full-time speech therapist position. It is recommended that the board approve the contract with ProCare Therapy for speech therapy services through a virtual platform for the 22-23 school year, not to exceed $115,000. ProCare Therapy will provide speech therapy services at a rate of $75 per hour. ProCare Therapy is an approved vendor under the SAFE contract RFP 19-04-24. Funds from the M&O budget will be used to pay for services. This contract has been reviewed by purchasing and legal.
I move that we accept 6.5 as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
John Masden,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. Next up, Student Services again. Is that AMN Healthcare Contract for Occupational Therapy.
Mr. President, members of the board, the district again is obligated to ensure the provision of related services for eligible students in accordance to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We have not been successful to date filling 2 full-time occupational therapy positions that we have within our district. This contract will fill one of the full-time openings. It is recommended the board approve the contract with AMN Healthcare for occupational therapy services for the 22-23 school year, not to exceed $110,000. AMN Healthcare will provide occupational therapy services at a rate of $72 per hour. AMN Healthcare is an approved vendor under the SAFE contract RFP number 001021. Funds from the M&O budget will be used to pay for the services. This contract has been reviewed by purchasing and legal.
I move that we approve 6.6 as presented. I have a question too.
Okay. Go for it.
These are things that we can't fill in town already?
Correct. We have been posting and recruiting on multiple sites. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of extra medical providers that easily accessible, but we definitely reach out even to other organizations trying to actively recruit, making them aware of our openings.
So we're shorthanded on both speech and occupational?
Correct.
And I know you've discussed with us about the rate. The 72 is a
Right.
good rate when we're looking at comparing different price points.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston.
Yes.
Eric Horan,
Yes. Moving on to 6.7, Human Resources, second presentation, review of policy GCBA.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have made no changes since the first reading, but we are here to just simply try to address some of these critical and difficult to fill positions by revising the language of the policy and remove the limitations to just science, math, special education, and gifted and talented. At our first session, the question was posed by President Arand about the procedure. So as a group of directors, we did meet and discuss that. Each February, we will review positions that have been vacant for a semester or more or have been filled by long-term subs. Those positions would be considered critical at that time. And we also looked at positions where we have 3 or more vacancies. We find that when we start to get a cluster of vacancies in any particular area, it is very taxing on the staff that are trying to support those positions. So that will be our annual procedure, and those positions will be published on our Human Resources section of our website.
I appreciate the follow-up.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve 6.7 as presented.
I second.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Eric Horan,
Yes. Moving on, 6.8, Business Services, Intergovernmental Agreement for District Events between Lake Havasu City and LHUSD number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. The 2017-2022 Intergovernmental Agreement for District Events between Lake Havasu City and the Lake Havasu Unified School District is soon to expire. The City and District's legal counsel revised the agreement as a result of the upcoming expiration. The term of the revised IGA is July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2027, or unless terminated in accordance with this agreement. The Lake Havasu City Council approved the IGA and awaits governing board action on behalf of the district.
Discussion?
I move we approve it as presented.
I'll second.
The only discussion I want to do is just what a win-win this is. The city provides a lot of different programs and resources under this umbrella, and it provides opportunities for our students in a number of ways.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Eric Horan,
Yes. 6.9, Business Services, Architect Services, Jamaica Elementary Site Improvements.
Mr. President, members of the board, security improvements were made to each of our 8 schools beginning in fiscal year 21. EMC2 provided architect services to design improvements to our campuses for future district consideration when moving forward to the construction phase of projects. The district is in the pre-construction phase of proposed improvements to Jamaica Elementary. Additional services are requested to include additional site improvements and to align additional improvements and plan changes with proposed scope of work for this site. The total of additional fees is $47,800. That also includes the construction admin fee. EMC2 responded to a request for qualifications for architect services issued by the district, and a committee evaluated EMC2's qualifications, and the governing board approved EMC2 services on June 20th, 2017. It is anticipated that approval for construction services will come before the board in May.
I would like to move that we approve it as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
John Maston,
Yes.
Carol Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. 610, Architect Services, Starline Elementary Basketball Activity Courts.
Mr. President, members of the board, the school district submitted a grant application to the Arizona School Facilities Board seeking funding to replace the basketball activity court at Starline Elementary. The old court was condemned several years ago before being completely removed as part of the site improvements made to this campus. The SFB awarded design funds as part of the first phase of this project. Once the design is complete, the project will go back to the SFB for them to consider funding for the construction phase of the project. Should the SFB approve funding, the project will come back before the governing board to approve construction. The award of the design amount is $16,580, and again, the note there that the governing board did approve them as a qualifying contractor or architect services on June 20th, 2017.
I would move that we approve it.
I'll second. I did have one question. So the amount of the award should cover all the fees, or do we expect the design project to cost more than that?
If it were to go beyond that, it would have to go back to the school facilities board for them to approve additional funding. So the district, because of the award, the SFB has basically issued a promise to pay and reimburse the district for these services. So if it were to go beyond that, we would have to get them involved again to approve additional monies.
Carol Niederman,
Yes.
Archana Aliyar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. 611, Business Services Award for CPA Accounting Services, or Auditing Services, sorry.
Mr. President, members of the board, the district released a request for proposal for CPA auditing services on February 7, 2022. The award is for the fiscal year 2022 audit initial period with an option of up to 4 annual renewals. The RFP was sent electronically to 10 firms registered on the district's bidders list, and the RFP was also posted on the district's website. 3 firms responded to the RFP. The 3 proposals were opened on the specified due date and time of March 4th, 2022 at 2 p.m. The proposals were evaluated on March 8th, 2022 by Michael Murray, Director of Business Services, Naomi Morgan, Business Specialist, Aaron Horvath, Accounting Specialist, Kelly Morrison, Accounting Specialist, and Alexis Clark, Information Management Specialist. Following spring break, interviews were held on March 22, 2022 in the form of electronically responding to discussion questions, which were created by evaluators to seek additional information in the criteria areas listed below. Discussion questions, as well as a best and final request, were received by March 31, 2022 at 5 p.m. The firms were evaluated and scored based on the following criteria. There's the point scale, so 100 points maximum for comprehensiveness of the audit work plan, 100 points for realistic time estimates of each major segment of the work plan and the estimated number of hours of each staff level, 100 points for auditing Arizona school districts, 50 points auditing governments, 50 points auditing computerized systems, 50 points auditing federal programs, 150 points qualifications of supervisory staff and of the audit team performing fieldwork, 100 points general direction and supervision to be exercised over the audit team by the audit firm's management, 50 points the size and structure of the audit firm considering the scope of the audit, and 250 points for cost criteria. The firms were evaluated and scored separately by each individual evaluator. The firms were scored and then ranked as a 1, 2, or 3 based on the combined scores of all evaluators for each criteria, and the firm with the highest overall ranking was then recommended before you tonight for award. The results of the evaluations listing overall rankings are as follows. CWDL received an overall ranking of 2.0, Dobridge and Company overall ranking of 2.8, and Heinfeld Meach an overall ranking of 1.2. So you can think of that as a first, second, third. So first, obviously, being the best score. Heinfeld Meach received the highest ranking based on the criteria and scoring explanations above. After governing board approval, the contract between the district and Heinfeld Meach must be approved by the Arizona Auditor General's office before audit work may begin. And the proposals, including discussion questions and scoring information, are available to the public and can be viewed in the business office upon request.
I move that we approve 6.11 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? I will just kind of say I really appreciate seeing the process out here. Seeing the scoring system, I think it's great for the public to see that too, that level of transparency. I like the golf scoring. Lower is better, unless we get below par. I don't know. But we have worked with this company before, and they have been a good partner. Is that correct?
That is correct. They are our current auditing firm.
Okay. Thank you.
I also, based on previous experience, I think that they kind of take the time to do the personal touch, like they come out here in person and everything, so I like that part of it. I don't know if the other firms do that as well, but I do like the fact that Heinfeld Meach takes the time.
Marciana Alliar,
Yes.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. 612, Business Services, Acceptance of Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR, Single Audit, and USFR Questionnaire for the fiscal year 2021.
Mr. President, members of the board, Arizona Revised Statute 15-914 requires that school districts who have an adopted M&O budget limit in excess of $2 million annually shall contract for an annual financial statement audit and the completion of the USFR compliance questionnaire. School districts who expend more than $750,000 in federal revenues must also contract for a federal single audit. In the spring of 2021, the Arizona legislature passed legislation that requires the governing board to publicly accept these audits through a roll call vote. The school district must also upload these files to the Arizona Department of Education and provide them to the county superintendent's office.
I move that we approve 6.12.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Can I just add,
Sure.
by way of context to this? So the roll call vote is simply just a roll call vote. You'll recall as Ms. Roman and Mr. President has spoke about regarding our audit firm. So in October, the beginning of October every year, I present the annual financial report. And then that's quickly followed up later on that month. The auditors have been very gracious to hold a work session with the board to present the current state and progress of the audit as it's ongoing by that time in late October. So you're not only seeing financials in early October, then you're also seeing the part of the audit in real time. And then this is just kind of the overall event. Once we actually receive the finalized documents, it comes before the board for that roll call vote, and then ultimately will then be uploaded as stated in the action item to the state so that the public can view it easily.
Lisa Roman,
Yes.
John Maston,
Yes.
Kyle Niederman,
Yes.
Marciana Alliar,
Yes.
Eric Moran,
Yes. 613, Business Services, Vouchers, Student Activity Funds, and Auxiliary Funds.
Mr. President, members of the board, seeking approval of vouchers for March and student activity funds and auxiliary funds for February 2022.
I move that we do just that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? No? Okay, let's go.
John Maston?
Yes.
Kyle Niederman?
Yes.
Archana Aliyar?
Yes.
Lisa Roman?
Yes.
Gary Koran?
Yes. So now we're done with the fun part. Let's get on to the last part. 7, informational, superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to kind of echo what Mrs. Nowakowski said. While we were able to recognize a few of our staff tonight, we greatly appreciate all of the work that all of our staff do on a daily basis. You heard many of the things tonight, but our teachers on a daily basis are instructing our students, and then they have to take time for assessments. They're on multiple committees. You've seen things presented here tonight that they were part of those committees. And they do a lot of community service as well. So I just want to thank them for all that they do in our schools and in our community. And we are speeding towards the end of the year, so there are a lot of end-of-year events coming up. Evenings of excellence and scholarship nights and certainly graduation. So we are just looking forward to all of those things.
Moving to 7.2, any informational stuff from the governing board? I'll just quickly add job fairs coming up in the next couple of weeks. Get the word out if you can. Lots of positions opening, a lot of good things. I think there's the elementary one is next week and the high school one is the week after that. Opposite. So, okay. So that's good. And echo what Dr. Stone said. Lots of student awardees coming up and interesting, stuff, individual with schools, programs, things like that. So please take part and honor your students.
We'll also be looking for a new principal for Nautilus.
You have a motion? No, I'm just kidding. So that leaves us now to, is there another call to the public anymore? Okay. Board suggestions for future agenda items. Press, media clarifying questions. Then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Kyle Niederman?
Yes.
John Maston?
Yes.
Lisa Roman?
Yes.
Archana Aliyar?
Yes.
Gary Koran?
Yes, we're adjourned.